are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Not too bad. Should really leave the house at some point today, but I don't really want to.
Yeah, it's always nice, especially now, to try and leave the house as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So do you want to just give a bit of background on kind of which specialism you're on and where you're based and things, and then we'll get into what you get up to day to day?
Okay, I am on the clinical engineering specialism, but specialising in rehab engineering. I'm based in North Wales, but the uni side of things is at King's College in London. Yeah.
That's in a way quite useful then that you didn't have to go to uni, because I can imagine that would have been quite a trek.
Yeah, I mean, I did my university degree in Leeds, and then it finished in June, and I didn't have to move to Wales until January. So I actually went down to London with some friends anyways, because I wasn't sure where else to go, and my family don't live in the UK. So I kind of picked somewhere, and I really wanted the London experience. I mean, it wasn't quite the London experience that I was hoping for, obviously. But I did still end up going down.
Yeah,
but it's nice. Far.
Yeah, definitely. It must have been a big move then, Leeds to London and then London to Wales.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of driving up and down the country for sure, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it was okay. I didn't have any time restraints or anything, so it was quite nice.
That's cool.
Friends as long as possible.
Fab, so how come you weren't needing to move to Wales until January?
So the way it works for clinical engineering is actually similar to medical physics, if you've spoken about medical, but it's we do 3 months of uni from October to December, and then we do a year in your place, and then we go back to uni in 2022 now. So we've kind of got a year off from uni completely. So I did come into September to the hospital I'm at just as an induction thing, but then I went to uni for three months. So
it sounds really intense, uni for 3 months, but then I guess it's nice if you don't have to go back for a year and a bit afterwards.
Yeah, I think it was really intense, especially towards the end when we had all the coursework, and then at my old uni in Leeds we had exams in January, but at King's the exams were in December. So it was all really, really condensed, 2.5 months. But it is now nice because I don't have to think about uni at all. So I think that's kind of worked out now for me.
Yeah,
I'm quite lucky about it.
Cool. So what was your background to the STP? You've just finished, was it an undergrad or a master's?
Yeah, so I did an undergrad, but it was integrated masters in medical engineering, which was not very medical. It was very mechanical based. But I just tried to make sure my dissertations and internships and things before were medical, so that I got as much of that side of it as possible. Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to do something clinically based during your degree then?
Yeah. Yes, I was very well, when I first signed up for medical engineering, I was under the impression that I could do things like orthotics and prosthetics and things. Then I very quickly realized that to do those sorts of things you actually need a degree in orthotics and prosthetics, and I was a bit I've made a serious error here. So then I was looking at things, and most medical engineering jobs are very highly research based, behind a desk all day, designing, kind of testing, that sort of thing. And I wasn't really sure that I wanted that, because a lot of medical design takes 5-10 years to develop and test and get it onto the thing, and I kind of like the quick satisfaction of seeing something go, from idea to product really quickly. And then I was doing a medical physics module at uni, and the medical physics department sent out an advert for the STP, and I saw it and I was like, something I would really like to do, something the math and stuff, but also the patient interaction that I wanted.
Yeah. So. You mentioned something about like internships. Was that offered as part of the degree, or was that something that you set up independently?
Well, it was offered as part of our faculty, so they had internships like each summer, like research internships within the faculty, and then some of the societies that I was part of at uni offered different types of summer internships, like abroad and things. So I just every year, because I knew that my uni was really big on years in industry, but I knew that I didn't want to do a year in industry, so I made sure that each summer I did an internship instead, and kind of like added up to a year almost.
Yeah, that's really good that you had the foresight to do that.
Well, I think on my uni put such a big emphasis on the fact that you needed experience to get a job that I kind of thought that if I didn't have anything, I'd be like screwed at the end of it. So yeah. Well,
that's worked out in the end. So now you've said it's a bit similar to medical physics, I understand a little bit more, but I still, like, what do you get up to in rehabilitation engineering?
So the uni is quite similar to medical physics, but the actual work is not at all. So rehab engineering. So I mean, I've been there like 4 weeks now, and I'm still kind of getting to grips with it. But I work in a department called the Posture and Mobility Services, and they make custom wheelchairs for people who are have really complex disabilities. So we see a lot of people with like cerebral palsy or MS, polio, those sorts of things, where they are unable to to use a wheelchair like off the shelf because they need extra supports and things. So we would see them, do an assessment, and then decide kind of whether we can like collect different bits of parts of wheelchairs from loads of different bits and put it together to make something that's suitable, or if we have to do like a custom design kind of thing. And then once we've done that, then we'll design it or make it, and we have a manufacturing team on site that does all the manufacturing, which is really, really cool. And then we fit the wheelchair and deliver it to them.
That must be so rewarding, because it sounds a little, it might be completely wrong, but it's more like to improve quality of life rather than like immediate life and death. Like
100%. It's definitely more about trying to give them a better quality of life, trying to get them to, like, if they like to do things, then trying to make sure that their wheelchair allows them to do those things that they enjoy doing, or whatever it is. So it's really quite rewarding in that sense.
Is there a lot of when I think of engineering, I think of kind of maths and equations and formulas and things like that. Is there a lot of engineering still in it, or is it more kind of taking what the patient tells you? And I'm wording this badly, but is there a lot of like classical engineering involved?
So far, no, there hasn't been. I think you have to be able to understand how like the wheelchairs work and things. There is some classical engineering probably underlying, like pressure, force, center of gravity, those sorts of things. But the actual appointment is very much like trying to understand what the client wants and trying to use like general problem solving skills to figure out what's best for them. But I think the underlying research, if I was to do any research into it, then it would definitely be very engineering heavy.
Do you work with lots of different patients then? Do you work with like adults as well as children? Or?
So it's a complete range. I've in the time that I've been there, I've only seen adults, but they do stuff for children as well. But I think on the whole, it seems to be more common in like elderly people as well, because obviously with the aging population, there are But yeah.
Are there other areas, or is it quite like wheelchair focused?
Oh yeah, so there are other areas that actually my specialism, especially in second and third year, also involve gait analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So people come in again with disabilities, but they can walk, and you analyze their gait and how they're walking, and what supports or like orthotics or things that they might need. But I've not done that yet in practice, and my hospital doesn't offer it, so I have to go elsewhere to do it. And that's not been arranged yet.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's a little way off, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But my hospital, even though it's like through the Welsh STP, we have a trainee network with Oswestry and Liverpool in England. So I do all my rotations away from my home base.
Okay.
And so that will all be this year at some point.
So did you apply for the Welsh STP and the English STP, or just the Welsh one?
Because I knew that this was the only job I wanted, I applied for England, Wales and Scotland. Try and give myself the best chance of getting a job. Yeah.
That was really impressive.
Well, I mean, I did the England application first because it opened first, and then the Scottish and Welsh ones the questions were different, but they were very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, it wasn't that much work, because once I'd done the English one, I just adapted them.
Yeah.
Did
you get with the Welsh interviews like earlier on, or did you kind of have interviews for all three, or how did it work?
So I got offered interviews for all three, which I was very about. And actually, before COVID, because I got offered them before COVID hit, or just at that like awkward time when it was coming. Yeah. And they were actually going to be on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of April or something. And I'd booked flights and trains and stuff to get from Birmingham to Glasgow to Cardiff. It was like,
oh wow.
And then they all got cancelled. And the Wales was the quickest to rearrange. They would rearrange like within a week. I think I got my interview. And Scotland had said like, oh, we'll get back to you when we know more. And England obviously, took a long time to hear anything. So yeah, I had my Welsh one within a week.
That's so good.
Really quick, yeah. It was really nice.
Did you get the results from it quite quickly afterwards? Or did you have to interview for the others as well?
Oh no, they called me the same day, actually. Oh. Yes, yeah. Amazing. Which was really nice that I didn't have to do that whole waiting thing, because I know how horrible that can be. And then so they called me the same day, and I wasn't mentally prepared, A, to get it at all. Like I wasn't expecting it at all. And then B, also the reality of having to think about moving to Wales also hadn't really hit me like in the interview, because there was 2 places in Wales that were offering, and it was Swansea and North Wales. So in the interview they were like, do you have a preference or whatever? And I was like, oh, I think I prefer Swansea because it's, bigger, and North Wales is quite rural, but I'd go anywhere for the job. And so then they called me, offered me, and they said, we can't tell you where you're going to be based yet. We don't know. Do you want to accept? And I was like, I really want to know what England's doing, just because I kind of want to. I didn't want to say no, obviously, because that would have been ridiculous. But then also, if England had been like in the week, I would have liked to see how that went as well. But England ended up taking months. I'm glad that I said yes in the end. And then I said yes, and maybe 6 weeks later they were like, you're going to be based in North Wales. So
how big is the department?
It's really small. So I would say our hospital's a bit weird. It's like it's a hospital, but it's like a collection of bungalows, and I've never been into any of the other bungalows because there's like a dental unit and like a orthotics and stuff, and so the posture and mobility centre is one bungalow, and within it there's probably about 15 of us, and out of team. There's like occupational therapists, a manufacturing team, and then there's 3 clinical scientists, including me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so there's 2 other clinical scientists, and actually one of them's retiring in March, so there'll be 1 other clinical scientist and me. So it's really small.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some of the occupational therapists do quite similar work. So it's nice because there's 5 of them, so I can like shadow them and learn from them as well. So I'm not just relying on the 1 clinical scientist to show me the room, which is lovely.
So if you've got like I'm probably going to say it wrong, orthotics bungalow or whatever at your hospital, and I think you mentioned earlier that you were kind of interested in that at uni, would you be able to like go across and see kind of what they get up to?
Yeah, definitely. I think they have, I don't know if there's, I actually might be wrong in saying that there's an orthotics bungalow. There might not be, but they definitely have an orthotics department in North Wales at one of their sites. And I definitely, in the future, will definitely be interested in just going, even if it's just for a day, to kind of see a different side for sure. It's just quite hard to travel now, obviously. So try and get it all in.
Do you know who the other trainee is in rehab engineering in like Swansea or whatever?
Yeah. So it's been quite good because there was, I want to say 18 of us on our course at King's. So it was a really small cohort. So we did, like, I know everyone's names. I'm not sure that I would recognize everyone on the street because obviously we've only ever met virtually.
Yeah.
But I have like talked to them, the South Wales trainee, because there's also a Wales trainee network. So I'm part of 2 trainee networks, which is actually good. So I've met the South Wales person virtually.
That's really nice.
Really good. Really. Because sorry.
No,
I was gonna say, I'm the only trainee in my department. And they did have previous trainees, but they left before I arrived. So it's been really good to have the 2 trainee networks because they've got people in 2nd and 3rd year in both of them. So it's been good to talk to them when I've been stuck.
Yeah, can kind of get some hints and tips.
100%, because it's quite overwhelming when you start and you're like, oh, I don't even know when I should start doing my competencies or how to even present them and things like that. Really.
It is really, I think it's really daunting, like before doing your first one, because you've come from uni where everything kind of needs to be polished and presented like perfectly, and then you don't know really what they want.
Yeah, exactly. And I've struggled to find, there are examples of competencies online that other people have done, but not for my specialism. So I've like looked at others, but I'm like, I don't know what this means. So I don't know how I would translate that to what I've got to do.
I'm the same. There's quite a lot for like physicsy ones, I think, and bioinformatics, but I was trying to find like just one for genomics and nothing. What are the rotations that you do?
So I go to Liverpool to do clinical measurement.
Okay.
Which is kind of any device that they use in the hospitals to do measurements is what I don't know if you've spoken to anyone that does clinical measurement yet.
No, not yet.
But it commonly seems to be urology.
Oh yeah.
That sort of thing. And they've also, some clinical scientists do like gastroenterology, like and also like ECGs and EEGs and all those sorts of things. But I'm not sure, because it's obviously such a big scope of like things that measure in hospital is huge. I'm not really sure where I'll be going on rotation yet.
Yeah. It'll be nice to go to Liverpool though, hopefully, when things are like open a little bit more and you can do stuff.
Yes, I think it'll be awesome. And then the other rotation is device management and governance.
Yeah, like medical risk or something, medical devices.
Yeah, so I'll be going to like a general hospital in North Wales. Do that one when it happens. That's probably the one I'm least looking forward to because I know it'll be less patient facing. But I also, from the stuff we've had in like uni lectures, it's been surprisingly interesting. So I've got
like not looking forward to it, but high hopes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not dreading it.
Yeah, always good. How patient facing is it? Because it kind of sounds like you have to do your like initial assessment and talks with the patient, but then is there time where you have to kind of work without the patients and try to integrate all of the information they've given you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very patient facing. Or so it seems. I mean, our clinics are only running at like 70% capacity at the moment because of COVID. So I think we're seeing less patients than we normally would. But it does seem to be the appointments take a long time. Like the appointments are like 2 hours long.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest of the day I think seems to be like writing notes, making plans, putting in orders, that sort of thing, prescriptions, like that. And then it's quite a slow process. Like you see someone and then you're saying like it can be like 3 or 4 months before you see them with the wheelchair, especially now with COVID and Brexit together.
Yeah.
I feel like the world's working against it. So in between that time, it seems that there's a lot of like risk. I'm doing like risk analysis and things like that to make sure, because it's all custom made, none of it's like CE marked. So gotta make sure it's suitable for the patient and things.
Yeah, definitely. It must do you work with any inpatients or is it all outpatient work?
It's all outpatient work.
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong, but I think there are maybe not our service, but services that I've read about in like England and stuff that do like inpatient. So if someone's just recently had a like traumatic brain injury or something and needs a wheelchair, then you can go and see them within the hospital. But ours is very much like an appointment and you go away. So whether you're going back to hospital or you're going home, and then we'll see you again in 3 months.
Is it something that you kind of follow up with them in the future, or do they just come back if there's like a problem with it, or do you have like regular scheduled appointments?
Oh, so that it's basically they just come back if there's a problem. So we subcontract out to different manufacturers and things, so it depends on the problem about whether or not a clinical scientist would go and fix it, or if it's something like wrong with the battery, then a wheelchair engineer would go and fix it, kind of thing. So it just depends. But there's not really unless you've agreed with the patient because you're giving them something that you have a feeling they might not get on with. In that case, you might say, okay, well, we'll follow up in a month. Other than that, you normally give them the equipment and then wait for them to come back to you. Like, if there's something.
Yeah. Did you have any background in it beforehand? Like, had you kind of seen it other than that STP advert that was sent, or?
No. So I had all my internships were all research based, so all very much lab based things, or computer modeling, computer analysis stuff. And then I did a day work experience at Leeds General Hospital for shadowing some occupational therapists in their department, and that was it. So I just like, when I was trying to understand what the role was and stuff, I was very much going as deep into the internet as possible to see if anyone from the STP had like posted a blog post or a video or whatever. And I'm so glad that you're doing these. So many other people have started doing Instagrams and Facebooks and things like that, because I like probably read all the posts on STP perspectives, and that was it. So I was kind of going in like semi-blind, but yeah. I think two open days.
Okay. Yeah. So you kind of had like a background from current STPs, but they're never always like really in depth about what you get up to, I find.
Yeah, and when you ask, the thing that annoyed me was at those open days, and someone would always ask the question like, "What's your day in the life? Like, what do you do?" And then the answer would be, oh, "Every day is so varied. There's no day in life." And you're like, "No, give me examples, please."
Yeah. Exactly. Like, things are varied, but there are still things that crop up, and you can give like a general what you get up to.
Yeah, definitely.
So is this year, will you be staying within the like wheelchair department, or will you be looking at anything else within rehab engineering?
For this year?
Yeah.
I'll mainly be in this department. I will go, so in Oswestry, the hospital in Oswestry has a gait lab, and because I have to do that for one of my competencies in first year, I will go for a month there to do that bit. But for the most part, I'll be heavily based in North Wales.
That's quite nice.
Yeah.
You can make more of a connection with the people that you're working with, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I've only been there 4 weeks, and I only just feel like I don't even feel settled yet, but I only just feel like I have a sense of what I'm expected to do or what I need to be doing, kind of thing.
Are you given like a fair amount of independence, or is it quite like set out for you, your training?
I would say there's a lot of independence. So actually my main training officer doesn't work at my hospital.
Oh.
So she is based in Wrexham. So there's like an hour drive. So we have bi-weekly, or maybe every 10 days we have like a supervision meeting to catch up. But it's very independent based about me just trying to find things to see and do in the department. So it's very much up to me to just ask people like, what are you doing today? Can I help? I learn anything, kind of thing. And because I found that quite hard at the beginning, it was very out of my comfort zone to be that proactive. I don't have to do it, like walking into a room and saying, "Hi, I'm new. Can I do anything?" Even though I don't know how to do anything.
Can I tag along?
Yeah, exactly. So on days when I don't feel like doing that, kind of it's up to me to start like looking at my competencies and seeing what I have done fits into. Yeah.
It sounds like it'll be useful in a way, but also, I think if I'd have just started, like we obviously started in September, and we got quite like a really well set out training plan, so we knew what we were going to be doing, and I found that really useful at the beginning, to just kind of get my bearings before actually badgering anyone for training.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's everyone I've spoken to has had a slightly different experience of how a training officer has set out things for them to do and how much has been up to them. I don't know if it will make much of a difference in the end, but I do think that my first 2 weeks, had they been set out, had they been more already set out for me, I think I would have got a lot more done.
Yeah.
I found the first 2 weeks quite slow. Like now I'm quite busy. Like there's always a day, but the first 2 weeks whilst I was finding people to see and things, it was a lot slower than I think it would have been otherwise. Yeah. But I think that also could have been a factor of COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah.
How are your training like team and department at the hospital? Are they really helpful, and do they know what you're needing to get done?
Yeah. Fortunately, the clinical scientist who's not retiring in my department, he graduated from the STP 6 years ago.
Oh, great.
And he's very, like, almost, I don't know if he has a really good memory or something, but he'll like be like, "Oh, this is for this competency. Like when you do this competency," and I'm like, "Oh gosh," but it's really good. And I think the benefit of being in such a small department is that I don't have to. I mean, obviously I do introduce myself to people, but I don't have to explain what I'm doing because they all know, because there's only one new person out of 15. So, they're very good at taking the time to explain everything and because I think it can, I don't know if you felt this as well, but it can kind of be a bit overwhelming in the sense that when you're learning how to do something, I'm very aware that it's taking the person that's training me twice as long, because if they did it, it would be like a half an hour job. But they show me how to do it, I then do it, and then they go and check it, and then I like redo any errors. So I'm really glad that everyone kind of understands that that's okay. Like,
it's a training program though, so they've got to expect that too. No one's going to expect you to come in and be able to do everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. I knew that when I was going in, but I still felt I was there.
Cool. So because it feels like quite a niche, I guess they're all niche specialisms in a way, but rehab engineering especially. So if someone was wanting to go into it, what advice would you give them?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Sorry.
Okay. I would say that, my biggest piece of advice to someone that's going into rehab engineering, as I would say that it's actually clinical as a whole, clinical engineering. The impression that I've got from like our course lecturers and stuff and past STP people is that if you went into rehab engineering and really decided that it wasn't for you, you gain so many of the transferable skills to move to device risk management and or to clinical management that it wouldn't, as far as I'm aware, it's not such a big deal that if you didn't enjoy it, you know, it's not the end of the world. You can kind of move around, and from people who've done it before, there's definitely been that opportunity. So I wouldn't worry about being like, oh, I'm committing so much to rehab that I can't do anything else if I don't like it. Definitely.
That's good, because I think it can feel like you're about to start on this 3-year program after doing a 3 or 4 year like degree, and it can feel like, okay, this is what I'm going to spend the rest of my life in, so I want to make sure that I enjoy it, and it's quite a big decision.
100%. Yeah.
So that's nice. Brilliant. So do you know what you're like doing this week, or is it very much like a week by week?
It's very week by week. So I normally so like last week I would have been asked by a few people like, I'm seeing this patient today, do you want to join me? And I would have said yes, and then they'll book it in. So I think I'm seeing or shadowing 3 different patient appointments, and then I've got some very exciting manual handling training to do for the hospital, and so maybe some I'm not really sure other than that, but the days
the old like lifting with your knees or something. I can never remember which way it is.
And then bending, like hinging, don't wrap, that sort of stuff. So that should be fun.
Yeah, it's like the induction training things. Like I understand that they are really important, but also I don't think I can never remember anything from them. Like if I need to watch them again, I will just watch them again when I actually have to lift up a heavy box.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had to do the fire safety one. I'm sure you probably had to do it as well. And then at the end of ours, it was like testing you on what colour or label each cylinder was. And I was like, honestly, if I was in a fire, I would not be trying to remember blue is this or red is this. So, yeah,
exactly. Well, have fun with that. It sounds really exciting. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this, because I think there isn't a lot of information on rehab engineering, so it's really good to kind of get the word out.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I hope I've been some sort of help.
Yeah, definitely. Brill, so have a good week.
Thank you, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.